Why did God forbid Moses to enter the promised land? There are a number of times when we're reading through our Bibles and we see God mete out some sort of punishment, and it can occasionally make us wince. When God struck down Uzzah, who tried to stop the Ark of the Covenant from falling off the ox cart, when he destroyed Nadab and Abihu for bringing strange fire into his presence, those kinds of things just make us go, wow, yikes. But the reality is, one of the reasons why God may do this is simply to remind us of a principle he reiterates time and time again, that he will have mercy on whom he will have mercy. We need to remember that every single one of us in ourselves wakes up every day under a sentence of death. And every single one of us in ourselves act each day in such a way that we are worthy of the punishment of death. And so every day we move through our lives, even those outside the kingdom, in a context of God's kindness and patience and grace. So God could have struck Moses down at any point because Moses was a sinner. But there's more to it in this circumstance. You remember the story. Moses is leading the children of Israel through the desert on their way to the promised land, and the children are thirsty, and God tells Moses to strike a rock. Moses strikes the rock, water begins to pour forth from that rock, and everybody drinks and is happy. Later on, the same situation comes. God says to Moses, "Speak to the rock." And Moses, instead of speaking to the rock, strikes it again. And God says, "You're not going into the promised land." Now, a couple reasons why I think that is beyond what we've already covered. One, it's a significant difference. We're told in the New Testament that the rock which was struck is symbolic of Jesus, from whom flows living waters. And Jesus was struck once. And from that point forward, the same living water that came to pass because of his death for us comes through his word preached. We don't re-crucify him. He's crucified once, and from that point forward, it comes through the power of the word preached. And so Moses is, in a sense, symbolically, typologically, sacrificing Jesus, which is a serious and significant thing. But there's another issue that I think is less something that we can lay at the feet of Moses that also touches on typology. Now, I think it's certainly possible, in fact, proper, to see Moses as a type of Christ. In fact, when we think about, that's kind of a rough punishment God gave to Moses, we can think about the great things that Moses has done for the kingdom, one of which was standing between the wrath of God and God's people. Moses said to God, "Look, I know you're mad, but take me out and save these people." Very much a picture of Christ. That said, overall, in a almost Jungian category kind of way, Moses, think about this. When you think about Moses, when you have an image in your mind of Moses, many of you will picture him holding the Ten Commandments, because Moses is a sign and a symbol of God's law. When Jesus was on the Mount of Transfiguration and those two men appeared with him, Moses and Elijah, they represented the law and the prophets, Moses representing the law. So why does that matter? Well, if Moses represents the law, we need to understand that the keeping of the law will not get us into the land of rest. But it's by grace. Now, I'm glad I had the opportunity to mention the Mount of Transfiguration, because it was there that Moses did enter into the promised land. That entrance was delayed for many, many years, but he was in that land. God is gracious. God does not overpunish, but there are also lessons for us to learn from this event.